always known as a teenager that, is it that I run with God or I'm running with the other side of life. You don't allow the voice of trauma to be louder in your life. Ensure that you have control over it so you can always tune it down. I'm not going to lie to you. Life is not going to hand anything over to you. You are going to have to go for it. You're going to have to make up your mind at some point to say that I want to change my story. Biblically, God restores and He rewrites our stories, but without giving God the permission, He's not going to force Himself on us.
Hi everyone, welcome to Wisdom for Exploits. I am your host, Bola Amore. Today I have with me an amazing lady. She is Mrs. Adenike Oduwusi, a psychotherapist and a music minister. Before my guest introduces herself, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell. And the focus of our discussion today is fame to possibility, reframing the traumatic past. Over to you, my guest. Please, could you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. It's lovely being here today. So my name is Adenike. Everyone calls me Nikki, which is fine. It's just the short form of my name. So I'm a Leo. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I'm a minister of God. And then I work as a psychotherapist. I function very well, as a child of God. So I am a Jesus baby. I am sold out. So I see myself as called, sent and called of the Lord. So everything that I do, my work, my ministry, my day job as well, I see how interwoven everything is, because I feel like, God has a purpose for me in that way. So so that's me basically. I live here in the UK. What else am I supposed to say? I'm a mom of 4. That's it.
Wow, that's wonderful. It's nice to have you this wonderful afternoon, and thank you for honoring this call. Before we go ahead with our questions, given your role as a worship minister and a psychotherapist, what were your primary motivation for engaging in all this?
Okay, so let's get into it. So first of all, I believe that minister, all this, calling ourselves ministers and all of that, I believe that part of my life found me. I didn't find it. I wasn't going after wanting to become a minister of God or anything, but I think God found me in a good space. I was in a very difficult, situation when I was growing up. So I've always learned that is either God or God. I've always known as a teenager that, is it that I run with God or I'm running with the other side of life. So I've always had the idea that, okay, I'm going to go after God, anything I can do. If it's good to, I can actually note here that I used to be in another faith entirely. I used to be a Muslim, before I became a Christian. And when I was a Muslim, I was diehard Muslim, as I used to cover my head, So everything I did, I've always been the one that would do something. I would go all in, I don't like doing things halfway. So when I became a Christian, music was one of the things that God used to pull me into His fold. So I've always known that there is a part of my life that, is going to go all out for God. So I started singing in the choir, but I don't have the best voice, to be honest with you, but there was just something always about when I sing, people will write me notes and be like, I felt something when you were singing, I think God is going to use you. So I used to keep all those notes. I'll keep them, and I couldn't confidently call myself a minister until maybe a couple of years ago. So now I can say, well, God took me through this journey before I got to this point. So it started with music, and then it started with me having a story to tell. So I was able to merge my music, together with me having this story that God has given me to tell. And also, being a psychotherapist, that's something that that found me as well. When I came here to the UK, I was in advertising for 6-7 years, in Nigeria before I traveled here to the UK. So when I came here, I didn't want to continue in that industry anymore. It's one of the things myself and my husband agreed on, because advertising was really complex and broad industry. And he said that to me, that he wanted a wife that would be at home. So nobody that will be traveling everywhere. And because as a single person, I was traveling a lot because my job was taking me everywhere. So I said, okay. So that was the one sacrifice on my part. I still tell him today that I sacrificed my dream for you. So so I said, well, God, please lead me. What would you have me do? What would you have me do? And it took a while. I was pregnant with my daughter, and one of my ladies that used to do my hair had some issues with her husband, and they invited us to their house to come and mediate for them. So I think after the mediation and all of that, she sent me a message and said, oh, you're really good. Have you considered being a counselor?
Wow.
And she was actually the one that God used, as that as a voice of resonance that I needed in that time. I'm like, oh, counseling, I've never considered that. Is that something that is possible? Can I do a course on it? Can I learn it here in the UK? So I just got on Google and started doing my search, and I contacted a lot of universities. Then Stanford University replied to me and said, there was no how I could do, when you have a degree from Nigeria, when you come back here, you would be like, oh, I can start from year 2. Now I don't have to necessarily start again. They said, no, there's no transferable skills. I have to start from the beginning. I'm like, well, I'll go for it. So I started from the beginning again. I just did the entire degree from scratch. So I entered in for counseling and psychotherapy, the professional services, which means that you can practice as a psychotherapist. At the moment you finish your practice, your 100 hours practice, you can start working with clients. So I started working with clients 2016, 2017. Yeah, so that was how I came by this this profession, and it's been life-changing, and God has, in a good way, helped me to be able to merge them together. Somebody gave me a light bulb moment, because I used to say that, well, what I do in ministry is different from what I do in my day job. But I met someone one day that said, no, I don't think they are different. I think they are actually aligned. I said to me, if you remember that Bible chapter where, the king was distressed and they needed, David to come and play the harp for the king to, help to relieve the pain and what it was going through. He said it was music, that brought, and it was the was mentally distressed. There was, you understand what was going on. It felt like something was working on his body and all of that. And if we think about that in today's, in this current world, that was mental distress. And, David came and played music. He didn't even say anything. He played music. So you can see how that is interwoven. I think you actually have something that is actually aligned here. And that was my mom, like, Jesus, oh my goodness. So that is it. I'm aligned. I'm doing what I want to be doing. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
That's a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing that with us. So before we go into our question, I want you to sing for us. Nice one.
Oh, okay.
Just for maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes, just, yeah.
You didn't prepare me for that. Okay.
Because I enjoy your story. That's why I said, okay, just sing for us, then we'll go into our question.
Hey. All right. So I'll sing my original, which was released August. So I'll just do the chorus for you. It's very simple. It's just the chorus is glory, 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 hallelujah. To the one who reigns with fire in his eyes, and glory, honor, power, adoration. To the one who reigns with power and might, So you can go on my YouTube page and look for the song.
And check
And
it. Thank you. That's a nice
check
voice. You
it.
have a
Yeah.
nice voice. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mama.
for sharing all those. That's wonderful. So our
Bless.
focus today, as I said earlier on, is pain to possibility, reframing the traumatic past. So how do you see trauma, and why do you think understanding it is a key?
Yeah. So now I try not to be so complex, so that I want everyone to be able to understand me. I jot some things down, but you'll find me maybe not even looking into what I've written, because of the experience I've gathered over time, about this personally and also professionally. One of the things I've figured about trauma is it's just that part of your life. It's just that thing that you've experienced that can stock you up later on in the future if you have not given it enough attention, or if you have not given it, the right, maybe the right treatment or intervention that it needs for it not to stand in your way. As you grow, as you journey through life, the trauma. I don't. Sometimes I do wonder, how did they come about that name? Like, who always name this stuff? Who named this our experiences trauma? Because it got to a time everyone started going on about, oh, trauma, I'm traumatized. So I'll be like, well, how do you know you're traumatized? How do you know that it's trauma that is actually holding you back? But I figured over time that all of us, as long as you are living on the face of this earth, as long as you have a family that you grew up in a particular family, you've had misunderstandings in your family, miscommunications and misunderstandings and everything, then there is a very high level of possibility that you've been traumatized at some point in your life. So we all have this thing about our lives that we call trauma. So, I don't want to make it sound like it's something that everyone you cannot overcome. No, but it's just that your trauma, if you're not giving it enough attention, if you have not identified that, oh yes, this is a trauma, it will probably be the baggage that you're carrying around, in your current life. So that's the best way I see trauma. When I work with my clients, I always say to them that, this is this stocked up situation that you're holding on to. And what we want to do in this therapy session is to unstock it. Okay. And so that you can unweave that part of your life. See, when trauma weave you into yourself, you will keep going around with extra baggage. And there's a very high possibility that you're actually even bleeding over other people. You are bleeding over your loved ones. You don't know, because that is how intense trauma can be. It's different for all of us. Some of us have and there's nothing we could do about it. That was our life that's what life has given to us. And some of us, it was inherited. Some of us, it's just something that from the very young age, it is what it is. So we all have our trauma situation. For example, for myself, my parent passed on very early on. So I can only imagine, as a young baby, I was told my daddy used to put me on his chest, and I'll sleep on his chest and all of that. I can imagine when my daddy then passed on. Even though I was a baby, I couldn't talk or anything, but my brain would have known in that time that there's a separation already. That, oh, there's this person that used to put me on his chest every day, but he's not there anymore. So my brain there was something that would have happened to my brain. So, and then moving on to when my mom passed on as well, I was just 8 years old. Then I realized that, oops, okay, it's like my cover, all the covering I had were gone. So something happened to my brain in that moment when I realized that, whoosh, I'm alone. Oh, there's nobody else. So I had my siblings, but all of us were looking for how to survive. So it was like we were living in a survival mode from a very young age. And that can be quite traumatic, for children. So now what I'm trying to explain regarding trauma is that it has different effects on all of us. So I'll use myself and my siblings as an example. So for me, one of the trauma effects that I had is that I remember things even up till my 4-year-old, which is very abnormal. Sometimes it's not normal for you to be remembering things like that. And I'll say to my siblings that, oh, I remember this. And my sister will not even know that, And I will say to my sister, but my sister, the effect that situation, our experiences had on her is that she can't remember anything from childhood. But I can remember everything, every details. So it's very strange. Sometimes when she says that, how can you remember these things? And I'll be like, it's strange that you cannot remember anything. You keep thinking that, so whose brain is working right, you see? But that is what the impact of the trauma that we experience as children. So it had different impacts on both of us. Including my brothers. My brothers can be very nonchalant, very, they can be very evasive, and their wives are always calling me and be like, your brother is your brother. I'll be like, oh, please calm down. It's not their fault. It's what they've been through, you see. So trauma has, I do say that trauma has voice as well. You just need to be able to listen to it and to ensure that you don't allow the voice of trauma to be louder in your life. Ensure that you have control over it, so you can always tune it down, because it is an experience. It has happened. It is stamped already. There's nothing you can do about it. So what needs to happen is to learn how to tune down the volume of your trauma, so it's not louder than your current experiences. Okay.
Wow, that's a good one. I remember some of the things that happened as well when I was growing up to when I was 5 years old. I remember majority of it as well. So as you said that, it depends on how trauma affects individual. Some people might remember, some people might not. Sometimes when I'm saying something that happened when I was 5 years old, and funny enough, one time my daughter was asking me, he said, Mommy, when you were 17, 18, what happened? You won't believe it. I can't remember majority of things that have, but in my early years, I can remember. In fact, let me say I can remember 70%.
Wow.
But when I was 18, 17, I can't remember. I can't remember 40%.
Wow, that's powerful. And sometimes it could be, because of how open you have been, to your experiences in that time, and how, because the brain chooses exactly what he wants to romanticize, you see. So, and I always say that, it's not healthy for us to continue to romanticize our pain, our trauma. So we need to figure out a way to look for an exit plan for yourself. So it's something that could be, if you feel like you have very vital information in your teenage age, that that why should your brain suddenly develop amnesia for this part of your life and then decide to go way back. That means sometimes it might need for you to, to seek therapy, seek help, and this is for the larger audience, So if you think that, oh wow, why is my brain choosing things,
from the past?
You can go to therapy, because that's what therapy is for. You go in there, flesh things out, So when you flesh things out, you're free. It's your moment. When you are talking to someone, it's very unusual for you to find 1 whole hour to talk about yourself, except in therapy. Okay, so you have 1 hour to talk to yourself. If you find a good therapist who allows you to talk, because I always allow my clients to talk, so I let them talk. I open my space for them to talk. So you talk about, while you are talking. I have experienced this many times that in sessions, clients will just be like, I remember something just now. I remember something just now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, come on, bring it in. So it's something that can be worked on, something that can actually help, because when your brain is keeping those suppressed information, it can actually be quite distressing for the brain as well. I'm not a scientist in that way. I'm a psychotherapist, so I'm not allowed to diagnose. I don't diagnose, and I don't, I don't prescribe prescription. I don't give prescriptions to patients. So I only work, with the emotional bits. So, however, because we have read far and wide, and we have worked, I did my master's in applied psychology, so I do understand a bit of how the brain works. So, and I think that's something that's really helped me to be able to work with the vulnerability of trauma as well. So it is possible, but some people just choose to forget.
Yeah, there are some things I think. There are some things that will happen in life that you just don't want to remember.
Yes.
I think for me, it's not that like, okay, secondary school, I remember most of the things that happen, but maybe it's majority of things that happen at home, or something that is really bad. Because sometimes, when this thing come back to you, you might be thinking that you're forgiving people. Yeah. But unfortunately, you've not forgiven them.
Sure.
Maybe that's in my own case, because I just choose that. I don't want to remember that part of what happened in my teenage age. You understand? Yeah. I want to remember the good part of what happened. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
No.
Well.
Yeah, I think it's because sometimes we just want to be healthy. You don't want to remember. Say, God. And when you are feeling like that, it's like you've not really forgiven or let go.
Yes.
Of so many things.
Yeah. But awareness is good also, because it's good for you to know if you still have hidden wounds. If you have hidden wounds and you have not built enough awareness for you to recognize that you've been hurt in that way, and that thing is still there every time you have a trigger point, you're there. You see a movie, sometimes you realize that you're triggered, like, what the heck is that? Like, blah, blah. It means that there's something still there. So that's just something to, just to let our audience know that sometimes, trauma makes you behave the way you behave. Okay.
True.
It does not necessarily have to do with your personality. It's not because you find yourself, having this meltdown, having this triggered moment. It's not that doesn't mean your personality is thwarted. It's just because your trauma is still there. You haven't given it awareness. You haven't identified that, oh, it hurts. This person did this to me when I was at this stage, and nobody has apologized for that. And because we know that in our entire life journey, we're not going to get closure from anybody. Nobody is not getting any damn closure anywhere, especially if you have come from where we come from in Africa. You're not getting closure. Nobody is giving you closure. So your closure, you are your own closure. You've got to find a way to close your wound by yourself. So if your wound is still open and you're still finding yourself triggered, with things that has happened, which we can call traumatic, then it is important that you cover your wound. It is important to ensure that you are not overbleeding. I always say that every person that heals their children's children. So it is not for you. Healing is for yourself, for your children, and for your generation as well, for your children's children. So it's not like you are just out there to say, yeah, I want to work on this part of my life. You are working on it because, you have a larger responsibility to your loved ones. Okay. Yeah, I'll stop there.
Wow, that's a good one. So describe a pivotal moment when you realize your past pain could become a source of strength.
Wow, okay. So I started recognizing, I think I was in uni when I've always known that I love to write. So I used to write. I wrote so many lovely things, and I started realizing that when I write, it helps me to to let go of things. So I started writing very early on. So I'll write books, I'll write stories, I'll write imagined imaginary things. I'll write, then I'll visualize things, visualize as well, and put things on the wall. So I've always had this part of me that wants to do better. When my situation was My situation was it was hopeless, to be honest. That's how I'm going to, describe our situation growing up. When you don't have parents and there is barely anyone at all that is wanting to be responsible for you, your brain is doing a very quick one. So two things will likely happen. Is either your pain is helping you to want to become a better person, you want to use your pain as a springboard for growth, or you want to use your pain as a stumbling block to remain where you are. So if you remain where you are and you're not doing anything, if I remain where I was and not do anything, I have an excuse. Life will still would have given me an excuse and be like, she doesn't have parents, there was nobody took care of them, so at the end of the day, they lived from here to there, lived from here to there, so they were living around a lot, and then later on they lived with one of their own uncles, and then later on it happened, so she went to school, but I don't think she did well. So, it's that situation. Life will still have given me excuses that, wow, this is the only reason why she didn't do well, because, she was at a disadvantaged, situation growing up. So I would still have been, be able to pull that off with life. But because my brain was always working in that way that, see, I want to change my story. I want to change my story. I want to change my story. I was able to use, those pain, those lack, abandonment, unhealthy attachments, overthinking, avoidance, escapism. Those are so many things I personally went through. I was able to name them after I started gaining understanding, of psychological distress. That was like, so that thing that used to happen to me then is called attachment. So that thing that used to happen to me then, so that is abandonment. I didn't know. So when I started learning and gaining awareness of what was going on with me, and I was able to give a name to them, and then it was helping me to make up my mind to say that, why would I want to rob myself in abandonment? Why would I want to rob myself, in neglect? Or why would I want to rob myself in lack, in all of that? So all of those names were not things that I want to, they were not things I want to carry on my shoulders moving on. So I needed to work hard. And I'm not going to lie to you. Life is not going to hand anything over to you. You are going to have to go for it. You're going to have to make up your mind at some point to say that I want to change my story. So life didn't hand anything over to me. I went for it. As when the moment I finished uni, and I also had health issues as well, because I struggle with my sickled S trait is very sickled as well. So I was struggling with anemia, collapsing every now and then, being in the hospital, in and out of the hospital. So I used to tell myself, God, please, anything I do, please just help me to be in the right place at the right time. Please help me. So it wasn't just about being a better person. It wasn't just about gaining things. It was about gaining the right people as well. I read far and wide. I love books. So I wore books like clothes. I wore books. I wanted a good marriage. I was buying marriage books. Marriage as early as when I was in year 1, in the university. Year 2, everybody used to laugh at me, but it was as if, I didn't have an example of a good marriage, but then I wanted to learn about good marriages. So I started buying books about good marriages. And I'll read them. So you've got to be able to read right, to know right, okay? You have to be able to read. You have to be able to, expand your mind. Because if you are just in your cocoon thinking that you know anything, see, there's a lot we don't know. So decision, your personal decision, you have to be able to reframe your mind, okay? So reframing you can say reframing goes with awareness as well. So that you gain understanding of what the mess that you are coming from. Once you know that mess, you don't want to wallow in a mess. When you fall and when you make a mistake, I always say to every my clients, my families as well. You make a mistake, you fall down. Just imagine a pig in a very messy, pit, and you are there. Are you going to stay there rolling and rolling in that? You won't. You will find a way to come out. So I felt like it's my only way out. I wanted a pedestal, okay, and the pedestal that I needed was to be in a circle of some set of people. And to get to that circle, I needed to go to school. I needed to face my studies. One, I wasn't doing great because I was so messed up in my head. I was so stressed. I was so depressed. By year 2, I found Jesus more. I was going to church. I was going to fellowship. And I said to myself that, well, I had this lovely roommate. One of them is a lawyer now. One of them is, she's an educator, and they are very intelligent. So your association is also a thing. So those ladies, they were like top class ladies. So they were not necessarily, on the same course with me, but they impacted me to wanting to study more. Yeah. So also because I became, what do they call them? When they use it as an official in the fellowship, So I became a pastor. Yeah, they called me. We used to call ourselves pastor. So I became a pastor. And when you're a pastor now, you can't go to exam hall and be doing that. And we have to. So
I know.
I don't do that. So the role they gave me encouraged me to read more. So I'll be like, I cannot go into the exam hall and start asking what is number 1, what is number 2. So that encouraged you to sit down and be like, I have to know these things at least out of 5 questions. Let me shall know 3. So that was my encouragement. So, and it motivated me to read more, to become a better student, and it did help me. So because the circle that I needed to be in, they were educated, they were people that, that are out there. And that was where I wanted to see myself. So the moment I finished from uni, I went for it. I was applying, to big offices. People were like, you cannot get into that place. You don't have what it takes. Who will help you? Who will help you? But God, God, our God is very creative. He was always waiting for me. So where I wanted to work back then was, they didn't employ me, but the interviewer was actually pivotal to how I got into where I was working. One of the interviewers, said, I don't think we'll be able to accommodate your skills in here at this time. However, there's someone that I can refer you to because of the way you write. So I think this person can use your creative, your creative strength. So I'll give you their number. And that was how they passed me to my boss back then. And I worked in that industry for 7 years before I got married.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good one. Thank you for sharing that. So please explain how an individual can recognize the hidden effects of their trauma.
Oh, okay. So you have to understand your patterns. You have to understand your responses, to situations. So like we said earlier, we've already established that, trauma can stop you in your tracks. It can honestly, it can mess you about if you are not aware. If you are not aware that, some people don't even know that they're traumatized, they've been traumatized. They don't even know what it means. They just know that something had happened. When I sit with people and hear, there was a time this hashtag was going on, like, say your story, or let every girl child speak their story or say their story. There was one hashtag back then that was going around, like, say your truth or speak your truth. And a lot of women came out, talking about how they were molested, how they were harassed, a lot of things, And I remember writing back then to say that, see, if we allow all girl children to come out, all girl children that grew up in the environment that we grew up, I'll tell you that 99.9999 of us were molested, harassed, or, touched, or something horrible happened, to us. And I'm not making that up. I've done my research. I've spoken to, a wide number of people, and I know that everyone had that story. And it was because of because of that unhealthy, community ideas that most of us had back then. When this thing even happened, we couldn't even talk to anyone. We couldn't say to anyone that this is what happened to me, this is what this person did to me. And now we are even seeing these people, on social media flaunting their families, but they messed you about, So even for me as a person, when I got married, it took a while before I even allowed my husband to come near me. I was always like, please stop, don't touch me, because I didn't even know that it was going to be like that. I really wanted to get married. I was looking forward to it. But after I got married, I just realized that I didn't like that part of it. I'm like, don't. Yeah. And it wasn't until I went to therapy myself that I realized that I was actually being held back because of those past experiences, that I've had. So I needed to put a bit of a spotlight on that trauma. So otherwise, it's going to stay hidden. And when it's eating does not mean that it doesn't have voice. Eating means that it is there to show up when you least expect. And you can trust trauma. It will show up out of time. Sure. It will show up. It will show up. And then it will now it will give you a wrong definition of yourself. And it will actually describe you to other people in the wrong way. Because then they are going to use your trauma to identify you or define you, but that is actually not who you are. That's why it's important to separate yourself from all your traumatic past experiences. They are not supposed to be your current definition of self. Right? They're supposed to help you, to maybe detach yourself from them. So I will always say that you find yourself in this unhealthy moodiness, it happens to the best of us. You're always moody, unhealthy moodiness. You find yourself being so moody all the time. And, I experienced that. And my husband was so crossed. And he was like, what is wrong with you? Nothing. Can I help with anything? Nothing. It was still the voice of trauma. If you find yourself being unhealthily, detached and maybe sometimes wanting to escape from escapism is also a thing, because you want to escape from your truth, you want to escape from your real life situation. Avoidance is also a thing. Instead of you to have healthy conversation with people that can help you to move forward, you want to avoid it. You don't want confrontations. It's part of your unhealthy trauma, eating trauma, that is allowing you not to have your voice. So you have to recognize that, this is exactly what is happening. So don't allow yourself to continue to live in this survivor mode all the time, because don't confuse you living with one leg standing with standing on the edge, living on the edge. Don't confuse it with absolute living. That is not your total living. If you want to live to the fullness of what God has called you to do, you're going to have a lot of peace in your life. You have joy in your life. As much as I know that we are not supposed to be joyful all the time, at least you should ensure that your joyful moment is longer than the other moments. So eating trauma will come, as anything but good. So it will be, you identifying your wounds, ensuring that you're covering yourself, ensuring that you are giving yourself, enough time to identify and understand what is going on with you. Don't sweep it under the carpet. Don't suppress your emotions. Don't suppress yourself. As much as I do understand that feelings can be very, our feelings are like that. They can be flickering sometimes, but sometimes your feelings is also telling you something. Listen to yourself, listen to your feelings. When you do these things and you listen to yourself and you identify, your eating trauma, one of the things that happen is that you become loyal to yourself. How do you become loyal to yourself? When you have an idea, you trust yourself. See, you have to trust yourself enough to go for what life is telling you to go for, to go after even the purpose that God has brought you here for. You have to trust yourself. Otherwise, you always doubt yourself. When you doubt yourself, you cannot do anything by yourself. So when you doubt yourself, you're not living your best life. So loyalty to yourself, yeah, it's one of the major things that can help you to be loyal to yourself is to, go for it. Go for it. Open that, eating trauma. Go for it. Open it. Get in there. See what is there. Is it something you can work on? Is it something that you can get help with? Is it something that that you can change your can change your entire story and help you to be somebody that is more grounded? So don't suppress your emotion. So always also look out for there's something about family that I wanted to point out, especially people that have traumatic situation that are raising families. So when you're raising families, you want to ensure that you are not pouring your trauma over them, because it's very easy for you have them eating as a mom. If you're a mom raising children and you have eating trauma, you see, it's going to be, there will be a point where you are going to want to, like, maybe you wanted to become a doctor and by all means you want your child to become a doctor. So you're going to find yourself being overly, there will be this overwhelming thing that will be going on in your house, and you won't know that it's your own voice of trauma that is coming out. Look out for all of those simple things that they are very simple things, they are minute things, but they are really important. And if you're not looking into them, if you're not working on them, they are going to stand in your way. They will stand in your way, and not just you, your children, your loved ones. So it's important that you're not hiding. If you know that there is anything at all that your head is giving you, there's this thing I need to work on, please reach out for help. Okay, reach out for her. That's why our mama is here anyway. So you can always send her a message. She'll be of help.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think the reason why a lot of people hide their trauma is because of stigma and all those stuff, and especially people that think that they have this high caliber. They always hide behind the curtain and said, I don't want people to know I'm feeling this or going through this. And you said it all. Trust me, you said it all. That it's always going to come out. It's just always going to come out. Thank you for sharing all that insights. So identify the first actionable step people should take when they want to heal but do not know where to start.
So awareness is really, we can talk about stigmatization just now. Stigma is really, really high. In our community, stigma is huge. So, stigmatization is a thing. So, I forgot to mention that, and many of us have been victims. Okay? We've been victims. So, I personally, I would really want to dive into another side of these stories, and but I'll leave it for now, maybe another time, because there were things I personally experienced. There were things that my mom experienced when she was here on earth, that it was because of stigma that she couldn't come out. She couldn't say exactly what she was going through until she lost, she eventually, took her own life at 38. So, its stigmatization was huge, and it was really bad in their days as compared to now. You think that by now, we should be better, by now we should not be experiencing stuff like that anymore, but it's still here. It's still there. So awareness is really, awareness is very important. You have to ensure that you are aware of what is going on. Awareness, how do you build awareness? How do you build awareness? You have to go back, ask questions if you want to. There was a time I used to have this nightmare. I used to have this dream about a particular situation, all over again. I kept having this dream, and I didn't know exactly what was going on. I needed to know what was going on. So I reached out to one of my uncles, blessed memory now. I reached out to him. I said, Uncle, please, I want to ask some questions. And he said, no, why not? Come on, let's talk. And I remember going to his house and sat down with him. I asked questions, and he was able to shed light into a lot of things for me. Oh, this was how your dad was, this was how your mom was, this was exactly what happened at this time in the family. Oh, this is why you probably find yourself doing this. And it was one that even helped me to realize that there were so many things in our families that I didn't even know about, that were standing in my way, even spiritually as well. It made me understand that our family had, something, they had something, this, complex things that everybody needed to go to the family house before they can, launch out in business and all of that. I never knew that. So I just used to have this dream, and it was moving from dream to nightmare. So I didn't even know about therapy then. I just knew that I wanted to know what was going on. And my uncle helped me shed light into it. You see, that awareness helped me to know how to pray and say, God, there's no how. I wasn't there when these people made the decision. I wasn't there. I was not even, maybe I was a baby when all of them started this thing about because I don't even know what that means, for God's sake. So how can I now be standing in my way? So it helped me. So that awareness helped me to build this circle of praying friends. So anytime we are together, we are praying. So I would say I am an entire evidence of God's goodness and prayer. And prayer works. So your awareness, right? If whatever it is that that is your higher self. Some of us, we call him God. Some of us we go through Jesus to the very Godhead. Some of us, some people we call their own, their higher self, the universe, different things. However, I think all of us need some higher level of belief system so that it can help you to know exactly where you've been or where you have not been spiritually. There are so many things that can be revealed to you spiritually, more than the mere eyes can, right? And what I mean spiritually, I'm not saying that you have to go to a spiritualist and then turn yourself into. No, I mean, your spirit needs to be absorbing. You have. When you have a free spirit,
the truth of God.
It helps you. Yes, it helps you. You are in a meditative state where your spirit is absorbing, the joy that is going on around you. It helps you a lot. And that has given me a lot of ideas. So many of my creative stuff that I've done, they've come from that point of, staying in that space. So it's really important. Yes, I think I wrote something about giving yourself the permission to go there. Okay. Some of us, we have held back for too long because we feel like even when nobody is holding you back, it's just like something in your head is telling you, don't go there. Don't. And that happens a lot. I can share that. My sister is like that. Anytime I want to go for something or I want to do something, I'm like, there's a situation I want to work on. Because, I want to work on this. See, after I had identified all of these traumatic situations, there were some of them that I said, I'm going to work on this one. Because I know that this one is going to stand in my way, so I'll work on it. So anytime I'll be like, okay, that this one require me to speak to a particular uncle, then, my sister will be like, there's no need for that. That is in the past now. There's no need for that. I'll be like, oh, goodness me, please stop. Please stop. So I stopped talking to her about it because she just doesn't. That's not our own style, My sister would rather, maybe party and, even that is trauma response. Yeah, she would rather party or drink with her friends and all of that. I thought that it's trauma response as well, you see. So, and you will find that, and some people will be like, oh, they've had very good life. They don't even know anything about trauma, all of these things people are talking about, not even going through anything sometimes can be trauma. It can be traumatic for you. It depends on where you are in your current life. Not doing anything or being too loved can be traumatic for some people, So it just depends on, your the way your brain has been, has been functioning as a child. And I love how Gabo made. I don't know if you know him. I love how he put it. He used to say that trauma is not actually what happened to you, is how your brain has assimilated or is emulating what happened to you. You see, and that's why all of us, you'll find all of us, being like, I don't want to say servants, like, you're like following your traumas like that. That's why all of us at some point in our lives, we want to take a step back and say, wow, I think I recognize that something unhealthy is going on here. Recognize your awareness is very good. Give yourself permission. Also, try as much as you can to, seek help. I know therapy is not something that many of us embrace in our community, but I've seen a lot of changes in the past 2 years, I'll say, because I know I've had, like a couple of inquiries. I know some of my long-term clients are also people of color like myself as well, which is really great. We've had changes, but I always find that there are people that are raised in the Western culture as well. So I'm not sure, maybe that is a thing, but reach out for help. For therapy if you have to. Some people don't need therapy. Some people think that they need their pastors more than they need therapy. But whoever is that, that has that voice of authority in your life, ensure that you're not alone. You're not living in isolation. Isolation can hold you in. It can actually tell you, make you believe that you are alone and nobody is there to hear you, but that's not true. Okay? There's always somebody out there, and sometimes you just need one information to change your entire story. So go for it. Okay, don't hold yourself back, from looking or seeking your own healing. What other thing would I? There was a fourth thing that I wanted to mention, but it's gone off my head. Anyway. Yes, I'll remember it. I'll say it. Wow. Knowledge says knowledge. Build knowledge. Build knowledge. We have ChatGPT now. ChatGPT is a very good friend to many of us. I call my own bestie. Really? Yes, and it comes through for me every time. It has my profile, my everything. So it uses my story to give me answers to what I'm asking for. And I was asking ChatGPT the other day. I said, it's like you're going to take my job from me the way you are going, because all my clients are coming to you. And he said to me, oh no, bestie, it's not possible. There's something about human connection.
Yes.
I said, ChatGPT is even psyching me.
ChatGPT. I think ChatGPT is even more than Google now.
I tell you,
it's everything Google. Now I think ChatGPT is taking over.
Yes, it's taking over.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Identify the first actionable step. Yeah. People should take when they want to heal, but they don't know where. Oh, sorry, we've tackled that one. The next one is break down the mindset. Yeah. Shift required to reframe painful memories into possibilities. Did you get that? Let me repeat it. Break down the mindset shift. Yeah, required to reframe painful memories into possibilities. We're talking about pain to possibilities, isn't it?
Yeah. So the mindset shift that you need, that is required. Yeah, please, let me just, I want to break that down here. Yeah. All right. Oh, okay. So I think I'll go with, learning about emotional, people talk about emotional intelligence, and sometimes you do, what is emotional intelligence? How do you, use emotional intelligence to your own advantage? You cannot build anything emotional intelligence if you are not aware of your traumatic past. Okay. So, sometimes, awareness is really pivotal. I always go on about awareness. So it's the key. It's a very starting point of your healing. So it's just a case of someone that does not know that they have a problem and they want to go for healing. No, if you want to go to a doctor, at least something must be wrong, right? It's the same thing. So some people don't even believe that there's anything wrong with them. So if you feel like there's nothing wrong with you, how are you going to, how are you going to seek help? So you need to accept, first of all, that there's something, there's something wrong. Once you're able to identify that, okay, there's something wrong here, then it's easier for you to seek help. Okay. So the mindset shift, so I'm talking about resilience as well.
Yeah.
When it's resilience is, I love to talk about resilience a lot. The reason I see resilience as the reason I'm always very sensitive when I talk about resilience, also because I've also learned a lot of lessons about resilience, because sometimes there's this generalized idea that all of us we are all supposed to be resilient in by all means, but I have come to an understanding that our resilience level is different and our tolerance level is different as well, depending on the phase of life that you are in. You'll find sometimes that you're very resilient, as a mom, you're very resilient. You go for it, and then by the time you give birth to your second, third child, and you're just realizing that, okay, I'm done. So your resilient level is probably going to move from here to there or there to there, depending on what is going on for you. So all you have to do is and resilience is not necessarily telling you it's not toxic positivity. I'm not telling you to go on and be, to be positive. Yeah, I'm this, I'm that. We use affirmations in a good way. So don't go on about, yeah, I'm happy, even though you're sad. I'm happy. If you're sad, you figure out why you're sad. Okay. Work on that and help yourself to quickly move away, because there's this circle of life, and I use this circle in my session. So what happens is that, when you're happy all the time, then it means that something is wrong. We are not supposed to stay in the happy mood all the time. So we're supposed to move in between the circle of events in our lives. So there is one called, there's always going to be a depressive moment. Okay. There's always going to be, the time that you're very happy. There's always going to be a time that, you're a calm and balance. There's going to be a time that you're supposed to take decisions very quickly. That is, that like impromptu decisions. Yeah. So you're going to make like rash decisions very quickly, and sometimes you find yourself moving through this circle of life, and you don't know which one you're supposed to stay on. We don't want you to stay on your depressive moment for too long, because if you stay there for too long, it might actually get to a risk point. That is the point we don't want you to get to. So you need to ensure that you're calm and balanced. You can stretch your calm and balance longer. So that's where is a point of clarity in your life, is a point where you are making right decisions. Is a point where you are going for, your creative energy is really high. So that is your calm and balance. So we always say, work on your calm and balance. How do you keep your calm and balance, to be stretching a bit further than all other aspects of life, is by knowing exactly what your needs are, and then knowing exactly how to deal with all of these personal loss and failures in your life. What your needs are in that moment. How do you help, your sadness. So depression, anxiety, all of these things are going to come into this circle as well. So you're going to know that sometimes you just wake up. I don't know if it happens to you. It happens to me sometimes. I just wake up, I'm feeling like, I'm not on that side today. I'm not feeling that great today. And I've learned to always mention that to my husband, that I'm not 100% today. I think I'm running on 75. I'm running on 25. If sometimes I feel like I'm running on 20, I'll be like, yeah, low. Really? That's really low. So we always try to meet ourselves, in the middle. And there are sometimes I notice that he is running on 50, and sometimes we are on 50-50, and we are good to go. But sometimes we are really struggling, and both of us are really running low. And we always, extend our feelings to our children and let them know today Dad and Mom are not out. We're not going out today. My dad and mom are not up to this today. And the kids have actually even learned from that to let us know, to voice what they are feeling themselves. So emotional intelligence is important. It's going to help you to quickly have a mindset shift. Resilience is good. Then you have to learn reframing. You see, there's something called mind reframe. See, mind reframe, I always use mind reframe in my sessions when I know that this person can articulate. It's a creative exercise. So you have to be creative. You have to know that you have to work with someone that you know that can articulate. If it's somebody that you know that this person cannot bring an idea together, or they can't deal with bringing an idea together, they'll probably not be able to do a good reframe. So you have to learn how to reframe. So I'll give you a good example of a mind reframe. So for example, when I'm maybe when I have trigger moments, which I do have, okay, don't forget, trauma is embedded, all right? But because of all of these beautiful things that we are allowed to come on top of it, we are not letting our trauma to have a louder voice than we have. But it's still there. So trigger moments will always come because trauma is there. So when trigger moments come, it's still, sometimes I have a physical response to it. In fact, a bodily response to it sometimes, especially when something happens. I'll be so angry. That's why I don't listen to news anymore, because sometimes I hear some things and I'm so angry. I'm like, how can that happen? I'm like, calm down. I'm like, no, I can't calm down. So there are trigger points in our lives, and they are always very soft. You see, your trigger points are soft. If you don't cover your trigger points, if you don't have the people around you that helps you to cover your trigger point, they'll punch on it anyhow. So that's why you have to be very careful. That's why you have to ensure that you have the right association. You have people that are covering you spiritually and even physically, even career-wise as well. It's good to have mentors that are good people. There's nothing wrong with having mentors.
Yeah, true.
Auntie. So I always encourage, don't allow yourself to sit in that mindset of I can't.
You can.
Your pain is supposed to energize you to want more out of life, to be a voice of resonance to other people, so that you can help. You have to define your resilience, allow your resilience, to help you to make your pain look like it's nothing anymore, even though it's a thing. Allow yourself that opportunity to expand your horizon as well. Allow yourself to help you. This our mind is very powerful. Whatever you sit down every day to feed your mind, there's a high likelihood that your mind is going to believe everything you tell him or her. So I always try to personalize the mind, because I see the mind as like the literal person. That's how powerful the mind is. So anything feed your mind, is going to believe it. So the mindset shift that you're looking for, you have to ensure that you are moving from victimhood to a triumphant person. You're not a victim, you are a triumphant person. You're triumphing in life, so you're not a victim. So victimhood is going to keep you in a space, and you always see yourself. So there's no matter how much story, then there's no how someone will tell you a success story that you will see yourself being the success part. You always see yourself as a victim. So victim mentality. If I bring you a £1 million project, you're going to make a victim out of yourself, out of that £1 million project. And at the end of the day, you'll be like, the reason it happened is because, you're a victim. So that's what a victim mentality does to you. So you have to move away from that mindset as well. So remember, resilience, awareness, move away from, being a victim. You're not a victim. That is not how God has created you. In whatever you believe in, I don't think any idea of higher self is setting you up to be a victim all your life. I don't think so. So, don't have a victim mentality. When I was growing up, I used to be like that, because growing up, that was all I heard. That was what I felt. That was what I felt was my identity. When I meet someone, I'll just go on and be like, oh, I don't have daddy, I don't have mommy, I don't have that. mommy. I don't have daddy, I don't have mommy. And everybody, oh. And then it was getting to the point that I was feeling like that was how everybody was seeing me. That was how everyone was, defining me. I'm like, no, I've got a lot more internal resources to use. Why is everyone defining me like this? So I stopped, holding on to that part of my life, except if there's a story to tell, then I go into it. I said, no, I'm not going to allow this part of my life, to hold me back. So move away from that, victim mentality. You need to learn boundaries, healthy boundaries. You need to learn habits, good habits, all of those unhealthy habits, that keeps us, in a space that helps us to not move forward. We need to stop them. Ensure that our boundaries are strong as well. See, as I am like this, there are people that I don't pick their calls. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I just don't. Why? Because see, they are my trauma. They are married together.
Wow.
Yes, they are married to my trauma. And they want to always ensure that they are showing themselves in my space all the time to remind me of the exact thing that I want to run away from. So I'm like, no, you don't have the authority. You don't even have that eligibility to come into my space. No, you and my current life are not together. So I don't pick the calls. And I always apologize, if I have to. And sometimes I don't owe anyone any apology anymore. One of the things that happens to you when you are someone that has lived off other people for too long, like we did, is that you think that you are accountable to every dictionary. So everyone needed to have a voice in your life. I remember when I wanted to get married to my husband, everybody wanted me to bring him to their houses. Everybody wanted to say something. Everybody wanted to have a voice. I'm like, that thing messed me about. I cried. I said, I actually missed my parents then. Because if my parents were to be alive, all I needed to do was just to take my husband home. But because, so when I met him, I'm like, where do I even take him? Take him to my uncle. And then, my brother was angry. My brother was like, I'm supposed to bring my husband to him. My uncle was like,
everybody was angry.
Everybody was, that's what happens. That's what happens when I will say prayer to one of the biggest prayer. You make sure you're around to look after your children. No matter what. No matter what, make sure you're around for a long time. That was a mistake. After my dad passed away, my mom became depressed, and I think people they didn't notice. The people around her did not notice. So she dwelled in it for a long time until she felt like she couldn't handle it anymore. And she just used the easiest option.
Oh dear.
So I felt like, and she was just 38. She could have been alive now, At us, myself and all my siblings, it's not like we are there, but all of us are trying. All of us are not where we used to be. Okay. So there's a lot to it. So make sure that you're building your relationships as well, healthy relationships.
And maybe because she's not talking to someone, and that's another thing about trauma. If people are not talking to people that can help them, to say, okay, seek therapy, seek help. You can't be in this cocoon, and they keep bottling everything in their mind. The other voice will be speaking to them. And they will do what they don't want to do or what is not right for them. And that will be too late. Because by the time they cross to the other side and they see what God has already had in stock for them, it's too late for them to come back.
Yeah, I think that was exactly what happened to my mom. I think she was in this, I think she was waiting for somebody to come and help her out. I think she was trusting that, someone will come. Then the doorknob never turned. She was she was then left on her own. I still remember, in fact, that was one of my traumatic experiences as a child. When the day my mom passed on, she looked at me in the eyes, like eyeball to eyeball. When she fell down, she was bleeding a lot, whatever medication she took. I fed her very quickly, so she was bleeding, she was losing a lot of blood. So as they were trying to move her out, into the car to take her to the hospital, she maintained this very long eye contact with me, and I can't get it out of my head, It was really long, and she was staring at me. I was staring at her. I can remember. I still remember what she was wearing. She was wearing a red and black Ankara. I can't forget. I was just a little girl, but I remember every details. My sister is always like, I always wonder how you remember these things. And
maybe she's trying to pass a message.
She wanted to pass a message, but I think at that point she couldn't find her voice anymore. So she just kept that eye contact, and I was staring at her, and I couldn't get that eye out of my head for a very, very long time. I just kept seeing her eyes, on my eyes, and the fact that also the elderly people around us, they didn't help us, because I don't know where my mom was buried till today.
Wow.
We still don't know. So
Really?
Yes.
So they took her to the hospital.
They took her to the hospital. She passed on. They brought her back, and then she was buried. My elder brother attended, but he was only just a young boy then as well.
Oh, no.
But he said that he has tried. We've gone back to that burial ground, but he couldn't recognize the place because he was just a child. They didn't help us to note where she was buried. And even that feels very very traumatic. My mom passed on May 10, so every May 10 I always try to just stay calm and reflect on what she must have gone through. Is now that I became a mom, I try to cast my mind back to, that woman must have gone through a lot at that age, having all of these children, because she had a lot of us, to be honest with you. She had 8 of us.
Wow.
Yeah, she started having children at early age of 15 or 16. So, I can imagine what she would have gone through.
I think those days they married early though. Some do, some do.
They did. Ours was actually like that.
No, my grandmom said, from my dad's side, she said she got married at the age of 30. Yeah, my grandma from my dad's side.
30? Then?
Yeah, those days.
That is
she died at the age of 95.
Wow.
Yeah, that was in 1990, it's 95 or 96 she died. But before, she said she got married at the age of 30, because those days they always use the king that was reigning that time.
Yes.
That's how sometimes because some of them, they don't really know there. So they say, okay, I know I was born, or I was this age going to the farm when this king was on the throne. So she's told us that she got married at the age of 30.
Wow. I got married at 30, and I felt like I was too old.
Anyway, these days now, some of our generation, I think it's common among Gen Z are getting married earlier, but I think the millennial now, most of them are ending into their 40s, late 30s now. But the Gen Z, they do this thing. Wow, that's a traumatic experience, truly, because by the time you reflect back and say, what is mommy trying to tell me? Even as young as you are, that's you see, this trauma thing is but thank God for the healing. Thank God you find Christ, and that's a good one. Yes. So share a specific tools of practice that help you transform emotional pain into personal growth.
Yeah, so that is my core belief. Yeah. So there's something we call core belief in psychotherapy. And, your core belief is probably something that's going to, help you to frame you moving forward. So there are some points that I remember we did a particular course back then, that has to do with core belief, and I saw how people were literally, because you went through, it's a process. I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks that it took us to do that course, and I could see how people were moving from one particular belief system to another. It's very powerful. I personally changed my core belief, and I changed from knowing a bit to knowing a lot. Because I've always known a bit, because God has always given me this vision, this gift of illumination, or seeing things, or having very strong premonitions about things that are about to happen. I changed that core belief of being a victim. Also, my faith become a very core part of my life, you see. And even at the point where when I became a Christian, there was a part of me that could not even confidently talk about it. So, because don't forget, I was coming from a Muslim family. Some of my siblings are still Muslims. So, you know, yeah, so I couldn't talk about my faith openly. So I needed to change that as well. I needed the confidence to be able to change my core belief, to be able to talk about who I am, what I believe in. Also, like I said earlier, the right relationship helped me. You know, one of the best relationship God has blessed me with is my husband. You know, it became, you know, one of the things I always say is that please don't bleed over other people. So if you know that you have a baggage in your life, don't say that you're going to marry somebody and that person is going to help you. You know,
That's another mistake people make.
don't, no, that's not healthy. You know, it that actually traumatizes your relationship. So it's better for you to work on yourself. So I think God was working on me. You know, all of those times that in fellowship, I would lie down on the altar for hours, just crying. There was a pruning and purging going on that I didn't know about, but God was helping me. I knew there was an exchange in those times, but I probably wouldn't be able to put them into words. But I knew all of those exercises did not go unnoticed. I think God honored them for me. So when I met my husband, you know, I met him in a very in fact, very strange because I met him on Facebook. You know,
Wow, that's a good one.
and honestly, you wouldn't have thought that it's something that would work. We met another 6 months, we were married, and everybody thought,
It's a quick one.
I know, everybody thought, oh, it wasn't going to work.
No. I've seen some people, even there is this gospel drama minister as well. He met their wife on Facebook.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Facebook.
So I've seen some people met on Facebook. And I don't, you see, it depends on the way people sees it. Just be sure that you are marrying from your tribe. Let me just put it that way. When I say your tribe, belief system, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one of the things that happened to me.
Facebook. We're on Facebook now.
Facebook. You know what? You know, after I met him and then I started using Facebook. You know, he now later told me that he doesn't like me to be on that Facebook anymore. Because, you know, so I later, you know, I had a very big following on that Facebook, and my husband made me delete it because he said, this Facebook that you people are meeting there.
But you met him there now.
I met him there. And eventually, you know, it's now that my husband is letting me to go on social media. Before,
Why?
Like a very private person. He always says something to me. He said that anything you cover has honor. You know, that is his own core belief. That's the way he rolls, you know. So I'll be like, oh, but me, you know, somebody that has lived from one place to the other, you really think that you are accountable to a lot of people. We had that different ideas. But later on, God helped us to be able to align, you know, our differences in a good way. So relationship is very, very important. You know, if you are not praying about the right people to come into your life, you are probably leaving yourself open to a lot of unhealthy stuff coming into your space. You have to be intentional about that and pray a lot about, you know, right relationship. God gave me that gift. Even in my friends, I have friends that, you know, I'll tell you something. My friends from secondary school, I've kept friends that I've had from secondary school. You know, I'm not, you know, I used to struggle with social anxiety a lot. I don't know what it used to be called back then, but now I know what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you know. When I was in Nigeria, I wouldn't even want to go out. Sometimes I'll be in the bus and I'll be shaking. You know, it was the only time when I got it, I realized that it's called social anxiety, and I started working on it. So I can't travel to London, or I can't travel to go and see my friends. Some friends have left my life because of that, because they feel like I'm doing something bad. Like, I'll call her, she will not call me. I'll call her, it's my toxic trait, that one. I'll do this, you'll not do this. I'll send her a message, she will not reply. You know, but people that really understand me know that I'm going to reply. It's just that I take my time sometimes, and it's part of my unhealthy pattern that I'm working on. You know, there's always something that these experiences leave you with. So one of the things that, you know, my friends, my secondary school friends, two of them, you know, they came together. They traveled all the way from London. They came, to Bolton. They spent hours to come and stay with me, and we were together for 2 days. So those are right relationships. You need those right relationships. Anybody won't be able to do that for you. They'll probably be like, "Oh, she's not worth it. Why will I go? Has she ever come to me?" But because they know me, they know what I've been through. They know what those things have left with me. They know I am not that kind of person. It's just that that's kind of the pattern that I have grown up with, and that's how I am. I'm trying to outgrow it. So they'll be like, "Oh no, don't worry, we'll come to you. We'll come to you." So my friends always take a steps closer to me without necessarily thinking that they are wasting their time or they are spending too much on me. So I always call them sisters. Those ones are not friends anymore. They become my sisters because they hold me together like that. They will always call, even when I'm not calling. I'm very poor with calling and stuff like that. They will call me, they will send me messages, how are you doing with your husband and the kids and stuff like that. So you need the right relationship. You can't alternate that. You can't. Yeah, you can't buy it off the shelf. You can't.
So you need the right relationship.
Yeah, so another thing I wanted to say is that, biblically, God restores and He rewrites our stories, but without giving God the permission, He's not going to force Himself on us. So that's why it's important. That's why we say that we give our life to Christ. You see, so when you give your life to Christ, it's a point of surrender. So that's another thing that is actually important. I just wanted to put that in, to punch that in. Okay.
Thank you so much. So clarify why avoiding or suppressing trauma often makes healing more difficult.
Okay. Yeah, so suppression will only lead to frustration. Okay. Continue to suppress unhealthy emotions, you will be frustrated. Trauma always look out for the easiest way, to rope itself around you. So, and once you give it that opportunity, it just rope itself around you and it's not giving you an exit plan. So every point in time, you need to ensure that you have an exit plan out of all of your unhealthy patterns that trauma has caused in your life. So you cannot continue to, like I said, you cannot continue to romanticize this thing. It's not healthy to, I know, and I have, people in my spaces that keeps going on and going on and going on about the same thing. I'll be like, we've talked about this the other day. I gave you 1 to 10 or 1 to, and I always say, even if I give you 1 to 100 of motivational exercises or, do good or happy hormonal stuff exercises, if you are not implementing them, there is nothing will happen. So you have to learn. It's not just about learning things. There's a lot of information out there, but we are very poor with implementation. So we have to learn how to implement the things that we are learning. You have to learn how to, when I mentioned exit plan the other time, I mean, everybody have different exit plans. So, but for me, I always look out for when I know that, okay, something overwhelming is going on and I can link it to my inner child. I always say to my husband, I always voice my need. Okay. Voice my need. Voicing your need is something that is really powerful. Not everybody has the opportunity to voice their need because they know that is either they are not going to be honored or is it that they're going to be ignored. So that's why your association is very important. Okay. So attachment as well. You see, I've not even gone into attachment. Attachment is a whole history on its own.
That's right, broad.
Yeah. So you have to work on healthy attachment. See. If you read about attachment theory, you will understand a lot more about attachments because all of us do have a bit of it, you see. So, but when you have one that is being pronounced more, like I have this abandonment, see, it's very natural that we have abandonment, as an attachment, because don't forget, my parents left very early on, and living with people here and there has caused that level of abandonment to be, to be that pronounced in my life. So one of the things that the abandonment has caused in me is this very unhealthy pattern to walk away every time. So even if I meet someone and we have something good going on, and maybe there's just something that I feel like, oh, no, this one is not going for me. That is it. I can cut anybody off. It's not good. It's not healthy. An healthy way. So you lose out on very good relationship like that. And it's not healthy. So I'm working on it. I'm still working on it. I've recognized that is an unhealthy pattern. But that is one of the things abandonment has done to me, because later on, your brain is going to look for how to keep you safe. When my brain was looking for how to keep me safe, one of the things, it was encouraging me to do was to quickly not give anybody chance to come into my space. Or is it that because the moment I dive into a relationship, that is it.
Yeah.
That is it. And so I'm always scared of getting hurt, or there's this fear of I hope I'm not going to be too much for this person. So there's always something going on. So I always feel like, there's a boundary. That's keeping me away from enjoying the fullness of the relationships around me. So I'm very, very aware of that. So I use a very good cognitive reframing to help myself with that. We also talk about, resilience the other time. Resilience is, like I said, when there's if this wall, if I keep putting hammer into it like this, boom, 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 and it's not giving way. If you do it for a long time, it will start to give way. So notice a pattern on it. You will see that it will give way sometime. It's the same thing. That is how resilience goes on for us. So if your resilience is a hole like that, right, and you are punching on it every time, it will give way. And the moment your resilience gives way, see, that's it. You have already, there's a crack in your person. So it starts to give you this thwarted self, and then you are now self-sabotaging all the time, and you're self-doubting all the time. And before you know it, what you could do before, you're now like, I'm not able to do it anymore. So what that you could do before, like you have this emotional capacity to take on a lot before, you just realize that suddenly you can't anymore, because your resilience has given way, the tolerance level has shrunk. So it's important that we give a lot of attention to that, So resilient cognitive reframe. I've mentioned how many now? I can't even remember.
Attachments.
Yes, attachments as well. You see, and then also healing your memory. Yes, we talk about healing a lot. And I think that healing is, is relative. It depends on exactly what you're wanting to heal from. So I encourage us, is because me too, I'm still in that. I'm still on the journey. I encourage us to always, look out for what works for you. I've realized that it's not everything that works for everyone. So I don't generalize, when it comes to healing. Everybody has something that works for them. So like I said, that my sister will usually, she loves partying. I hate partying. So even if I have to go to a party, like if I don't have a choice, I have to go to a party. You see me, I'm in your party, but I'm in my home party myself. I'm sitting on my own, I'm doing my dance on my own. So can you see that both of us, we are using different things, in our different lives? She's using something different entirely to cajole a healing. And it does not necessarily mean that she is healed, in a way. So sometimes suppression will make you believe that you have it going well. But see, it's like pitching your tent by the seaside. It takes one wave to build, to just everything you've built. It takes one wave, just one wave of storm like this, and those tents are down.
Wow.
That is what suppression does. So you have to ensure that you have an anchor. When you are anchored, you are grounded, you see. So the grounding, for us personally, my grounding comes from faith, comes from my relationship, and it comes from my faith, my relationship. And I think I have a very strong grounding in the love that I've been given, the love that has been given into my life, through my husband, this hopeless, hopeless love that I've seen, So, and also I've done a lot of therapy. To lie to you. Even currently, I'm still in therapy. I don't shy away from that part of my life. I am always very proud to talk about it. I'm in therapy. When I think I need it, I go for it.
Yes.
So I go for it. So healing is continuous.
Yeah.
It is not a junction or a particular bus stop that you're going to get down. This is my healing bus stop, I'm there. No, it is continuous. So if you have to look at it like, oh yeah, this is the point where, okay, I'm done. So now my children are getting to 2 digits. I'm now realizing that, I think I need another level of resilience to deal with these 2-digit children. When they were younger, it was easier. You tell them go there, they will go there. But now they're asking questions, and it's getting at me, in a way. So I'm now realizing that it's like I think I need another level of strength to deal with. So yeah.
Healing continuously. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because of our time. So teach the audience, how to separate their identity from what happened to them. I know we mentioned this briefly, that because a lot of people, because of stigma, because they've been out up there, they don't want to, speak out, they don't want to seek for help.
Yeah.
So for our audience now, how can they separate their identity from what has happened to them?
Oh yeah. So yeah, I like this one. So there's this, I remember I mentioned about Gabon Mate, is one of yeah. And then there's also there's this lovely lady that I love to read a book. She wrote a book on how to do the work. I know her name is Nicole Lepera. Yeah. She wrote this amazing, lovely book. Yes. I used to have that book here. I think it's upstairs now. She wrote this lovely book about how to do the work. And then Gabon Mate wrote about trauma, how to understand your trauma, and how to understand how to maneuver yourself out of it. Is the one that actually always go on about your trauma is not what happened. It is the residual of what has left with you, or what you're feeling, or what you're experiencing as a result of your trauma. That is what we struggle with the most. Okay, so I always say that you need to understand your emotional processing. We talk about emotions a lot. We don't understand how emotions get a grip over all of us. See, emotion is powerful. Emotion can keep you stagnated, and it can actually help you to quickly process what is going on for you and move to the other side. So you have to understand how to regulate yourself. So even if you're having like an uproar of emotions on a particular day, what can you do to regulate yourself? You need to learn regulation. Emotional regulation is really important. So understand how to regulate yourself emotionally, even if you're feeling down, if you're feeling, I talk about, the circle of life the other time. There's a part of emotion that comes to play, with that. Understand your cognitive strategies as well. Reframe stress when you know that you're feeling so stressed, because stressors are they're like something that we cannot escape from. Because our daily work and stressors, they're like friend, they're like 5 and 6. So stressors are always going to be in our lives. They're always going to be there, beeping the alarm light like this. I'm here, stress. I'm here, stress. So stress is always around. You're going to now help yourself by being aware what your own level of stressor is. When you know that your stressor is getting to a point where you can't take it anymore, it's different for everybody. That is where resilience comes to play. So some people can take their stress, and some people can even work better under stress. I used to wonder back then, how can some people work? How can you be functional? That doesn't make it healthy. And it's the same thing. That's why you see some people dealing with addiction, and they are functional addictives. They are functional, but they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. But they are also, they are also dealing with addiction low key. See, so the functionality bit does not necessarily mean that it's healthy. So you need to figure out, it's like knowing your own measure. When you know that you recognize where your stress level is, this is where it is, this is my, this is my topmost. From this side, I need an exit plan. What are your exit plan? Do I need to take a walk? Do I need to go for exercise? Do I need to call a friend that I trust, that I can, speak to? Because it's not everybody that you can speak to about your emotional distress.
True.
Your friend are not your therapist.
That's true.
Don't make your friends into your therapist. It's not healthy sometimes, because see, especially when you are going through, a lot of distress, or you've had a lot of trauma in your life, see, you cannot, because you don't know who to trust with your story. See, friends they don't have the responsibility to cover your story for you all the time. They too, they are looking for a covering. So everybody is looking for who to cover them. Your friend is not your best friend is not your own best friend. If you say you are my best friend, it's possible that you have another best friend. So I know that nowadays some people are coming out to say that, all this is about your best friend is not your best friend. Is this true? It is the reality of life. I might say, oh, auntie is my best friend though, but you have your own best friend now, okay? So at the end of the day,
you really have a best friend.
Yeah.
I tell people I love you, everybody, with agape love.
It's only, it's children that talks about it, but there's only one person that that you can talk to anytime. You can call anytime. I'll pick the call.
Yeah.
Most of the time, that's the person that we call our best. Okay. So, but that doesn't mean that you are their own best. They have their own best as well. So your connection, your social connection is very, very important. For some of us that our trauma has turned us into socially awkward people. You don't need to overstretch yourself. I tried it. I did. I even did exposure therapy to go out. The first time I tried it, by the time I got to where I was going, I was a mess. I was crying my eyes out. I was bawling my eyes out. Because I was like, I missed my train. Everything was just, I stood at the train station, I was crying. Everybody was asking me, what is wrong? What is wrong? So, for us there's always something, there's always a residual that these things live with you. Learn how to manage them. Learn how to live victoriously, more than living from a point of view of victim. Learn how to use your cognitive strengths, to move yourself forward. I always believe that all of us, we're all capable of growth. I don't believe that all of us, because we have been through one thing or the other, then we should be, at the less privileged part of life. No, I don't believe so. I believe we are all capable of, even though there are opportunities or things that you would have done better, given the opportunity. But that's also fine. It's fine that you tried. It's fine that, sometimes I see myself in some clique of people and I'm just sat there wondering, how did I even make it here? Like, I've known that I'll be sitting on the same table with this person, but with everything, see where I am. I use that to measure my journey, to say that I haven't done badly, and I pat myself on the back. Well done, Nikki. So don't always, look at yourself like, oh yes, it is finished. Nothing is finished. Okay, it's Jesus that died for us on the cross of Calvary, and instead our suffering, our pain, everything is finished. It took them all, but that doesn't mean that your own journey in life is finished because of your trauma. No, you can do much more, okay? And you should give yourself that permission, to do much more. Open yourself up to a lot more of the things that God has in stock for you. Okay.
Wow, thank you very much. Okay, this will be our second to the last question, I believe. Highlight the role of community or support system in navigating trauma recovery.
Hey, Jesus, this one is okay. I think it's because community is powerful. It's good. I love the idea of community. I love the idea of having people to call on, when you need them. But it comes with their downsides to it as well. So you have to know. You need to pick your battles. Really, you need to know exactly, when or who you are reaching out for. Like we mentioned, when you're talking community, you'll probably be having a lot more stigmatization coming from community. Okay. So most of the stigmas that has been encountered in life has come from community. So it's always, if one thing outweighs the other. But nowadays, I figure that people are more aware. People are more using relationships to build themselves up in a better way, in a good way. There was a time my little one, my special need baby, was not feeling well. We were at the hospital, and one of my friends called in that time, and she called. She's not like a very close friend, but I met her, and we've met up twice thereabout, and she said to me one of those days, she said, "See, I like you as a person. So there's no amount of time that you call me that I will not answer you. There's no amount of, reassurance that can be more than that. See, and that's what community does." And the moment she called me from the hospital, I said, and told me he's having a surgery. I'm still at the hospital. She said, "Well, why didn't you tell me?" I'm like, "I'm sorry. I wasn't even thinking in that way." And she said, "When are you going to be home?" I said, "Well, we are getting discharged today at so time." Do you know, I got home an hour later. This lady was there with another friend, with, just name it, every thinkable and unthinkable. There was nothing they did not buy. They brought loads of things into my house, food, all of that. I'm like, "Ooh, is this how it works? Is this what community is about?" So community actually gets you. They can get you like that, However, when it comes to, like I said, I remember I said that your friends are not your therapists. It's the same thing with community. See, your community of friends are not necessarily your best therapists. You see, so if you are looking to use community as a leverage, for your traumatic experiences, you probably have to do it with a lot of wisdom and creativity, and then this is going to come with a downside. So you have to ensure that you're picking out from that community the right people, the people that that when they hear what happened to you, they will ask you, "Where do I come in? What do you need help with? What can I do for you?" Or sometimes they just want to sit with you without saying anything, because sometimes that's all we need. We don't even want anyone to talk at us. We just want someone to be there for us. Okay. So as much as I personally, because I've already owned up that I struggle with social anxiety, so I struggle with association a lot. You see, one of the things. So even when I talk, that's why this is my area of strength. I can talk on.
Oh, you can talk on social media, but not on this thing. Okay. Reveal common myths. Reveal common myths, yeah, about healing from trauma that people need to unlearn.
So this general thing that pain is the trauma, the pain that you gain from trauma, that is going to live with you forever, and then you cannot heal from it. It's not entirely true. Okay, you can heal from your trauma. You can heal from your traumatic experiences. Okay, you don't have to, believe that lie is a myth. Okay, so the part also that says that don't give attention to, it's just life. There's nothing, it's the past. Don't give attention to it. It's a myth. Your trauma needs attention. Please give it a bit of attention, because it wants to be worked on. It wants to be worked on. You see, traumatic experiences, like I said earlier, that it can stock you up. So you have to work on it. Everyone, most of the people that I know that have said that, "Oh, leave it. That one does not matter, Jare. I've met you, you've moved on." There are people that I know that have one thing in their lives that they think that is healing, or they think that they are grounded, but they are not. So there are people that I know that is like that example that I gave about pitching your tent, by the storm, and you are saying that when the wave comes, it will blow it off. So you need a grounded intervention, not and just going to party and using party to cover up, or using addiction to cover up, or that's the myth. You have to do the work. You see, you have to do the work, and doing the work is not pleasant. It's like opening yourself up as an open book, so that you can see exactly where it needs to be read and where it needs to be flipped over. Okay, so also struggling, if somebody tells you that because you experience traumatic you've had traumatic experience, so you're going to continue to struggle every time, or your triggers are always going to get you into like that space where you don't have an escape, means it's not true. I think that once you understand, once you built enough awareness, when your trigger moment comes, you can always get out. You can get out of it. You don't have to be roped in all the time. You don't have to be roped in. Anytime you say, that's why I mentioned something called inner child work. That's another aspect of therapy that we really talk about. Inner child work is really important. I personally, I love, I love being pampered in a very strange way. There's this milk stuff that I love, this milkshake. Anytime I'm feeling very not myself, my husband knows, you just go and buy it. It's like buying sweet for a child. And the moment he brings it home, sometimes he just brings it home. The moment I see it, I know you would think that it's more than that cup of, but because he already knows how to help my inner child, it has helped us in a lot of ways. So ensure that you're not being told that you can't recover from your trauma. You can actually recover. Also, toxic positivity is not healing. So I am also a believer in affirmation. I use affirmations a lot, but that's different from toxic positivity. Don't always think that you have to stay positive all the time. Like everybody's telling you, be positive, be positive, be positive, be positive. Positivity is not entire healing as it is. Positivity is good. It's good to stay on the positive side, to see things from the positive side. But if there's something going on for you, it's better to look at it head on and see exactly where that sadness is coming from and work on it, rather than always, covering it up with, toxic positivity. All right. So, yes, so that is I think that's all. I think I've shared one.
Thank you. Let's quickly do this one. Demonstrate how reframing the past can create new opportunities in one's life. So
reframing your past can actually create a lot of opportunities for you. You see, like if you are someone that desire to do well, if you're someone that desire to use your pain to step into glory, or use your pain to step into, triumphant life, you can actually use it. It is possible. You see, we've seen these things happen before, and we can still use it. All right, we can continue to use it. It's not going to keep you in a space. If you put in the work, if you gain a lot of understanding, knowledge on what exactly your traumatic situation is keeping you from doing, then you need to give a bit of attention to that thing. Don't let people put you down. People can judge you for what you are not, and judge you for what you are. So it's going to be dependent on who you are believing. Okay, so you have to ensure that that's why I talked about loyalty to yourself. When you're loyal to yourself, you believe yourself first before you believe somebody else. You trust yourself first before you trust somebody else. You will think what your thoughts, you will know that your thoughts is not jamboree. Okay, you know that your creativity is not jamboree. When God is telling you something, and that's why sometimes we'll be like, the Holy Spirit is speaking to me, God is speaking to me. If you don't learn, if you have not been used to hearing God, when God is telling you pivotal information about how to change your life, you will not hear him. So you need to learn all of these things. Everything is possible. We just need to throw ourselves into this, this wave of learning all the time, because we have not arrived. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to know. You see, the kingdom work is a thing on its own, but I always try to separate them, because this is my work, this is my faith. I always try to marry both of them together, in a good way. But I don't always want to, use my faith to now, downgrade what is going on for people psychologically. So you need to understand that there are psychological impacts of trauma, and use all of those parts of it that are not working, use them to step into where you want to go to. Remember, use your pain as your own stepping stone. Don't let it be your stumbling block. Okay, because pain can make you stumble as well, and your pain, your trauma can make you stumble as well. But if you decide to make it to turn it into your own springboard, it will spring you into where you want to go to. It will spring you into where you. So you have to have a dream. Otherwise, you're not being sprung into anything. So there has to be a dream. I used to have a dream. I want to be this. I want to be here. I want to be a mom. I want to be a good wife. I want to be a therapist. I want to be able to sit in front of people and talk to people. I want to be able to sing, and minister to people. So, it was easier for me to use my story to spring me into where I want to be, because I had a dream, I had a vision. Remember, I used to paste things on my wall. I used to write what I want to be, who I want to be, where I want to be in the next 5-10 years. So all of those things are very important. You have to have a picture idea of where you are going to, so that your story can then springboard you into that space. If you don't have that as a thing, if you don't have it as a tangible idea in your head, then your springboard is not springing anything. If you spring, it can spring you into on top of a tree, So there has to be, a clear pathway. You have to have a clear pathway of what you want to do, where you want to go to, how you want to become, how you want to start to present, you want to become a better person behaviorally, you want to be someone that is more pleasant to relate with, all of those things, they are all plans. You can put them in place and they are all possible.
Okay, thank you so much. I think you've covered my next question. Let me just use this to round it up. Explain how creativity, spirituality, and purpose can help convert pain into empowerment.
So, like I've mentioned, you would have noticed from most of my answers, I'm a person with faith. I don't hide away from it anymore. So there's no two ways about it. I will say it here again. There is no amount of motivational exercises, right, that will ever be enough for the idea of grace that God gives. So you see, you will gain your idea of the grace of God, just one idea of God, the grace that you've given to me. You gain that one idea. It covers a lot of all the questions you've had in your life. So that's how much faith means to me. I'm not even talking religion here, because I'm not really so into. I have my own idea of, I don't do religious activity. I'm a faith-based person, and when you have faith, you water your faith. You see, when you plant something. If I plant something in my garden, for example, and you go back there the next day or the third day to keep checking what you've planted, and one of those days you get so frantic and you get so anxious about what is going on. Let me just look at this thing. You pull your plant out. You pulled it out already. See, you've already altered the growth of that plant. So when harvest time comes and other people that are harvesting their plants, their crops are there harvesting, and you are looking like, but I planted my own tree now. Oh, you have already taken it out. That's how faith is. When you plant a seed of faith, you leave it to grow. And that's where the place of patience and waiting comes in. So in your journey, how spirituality will springboard you or help you to deal with your trauma, you're going to have to wait on God. You're going to have to wait on Him. Patience, because it's through your patience that virtue is raised. It's through your patience that virtue is built. See? And the virtue is not just, mere words. Those are the things that will help you. Those are the things that will help you to describe yourself. Those are the things that other people will see in you. And then you're like, there's something about this person. Those are the things that when somebody hear you talk, they'll be like, you have a story. All of us have stories now.
True.
It's not everybody that wants to hear everybody's story. You see, so there's some things that will set you apart. You see, they are the icing on the cake. See, you can bake a cake and then it's fine to eat it dry like that. But when you put a beautiful icing on it, it's more palatable to the eyes, the mouth to see. The eyes want to see it. That's the kind that you want to see in your picture, isn't it? So those all of those virtue, patience, building, resilience, all of those things, they are the icing on the cake. So you need them, and you cannot get them. They are the fruit of the Spirit. You're not going to pluck them off the street. They are built through the grace of God. And that is a place of faith for me. And that's how God has helped me to pinpoint the things that I wasn't doing right, even as a faith-based person. And God was helping me to prune me. That's where the pruning happens also. Take you, as you know, when you prune your flowers, you take away the thorns and all the things that are not needed so that you have a unified whole of a beautiful flower to look at. That's what spirituality does for you. Nobody can do that. Even, I mentioned the right relationship. I said that when my husband came into my life, it brought everything that I've always wanted. But the pruning that I needed, it did not come with it. I had to do the work myself. So even when my husband came, as God brought him into my life to do a lot of things for me, he answered a lot of questions, and it was like a jigsaw, and then it fit into my life. However, do you know, my trauma and everything that was going on with me was going to be the thorns, that was going to affect that relationship until I worked on myself. So the first 2-3 years of marriage was not easy at all. It was a lot of pruning, a lot of working, and it took God. So I had to go back to God. I had to learn how to listen, and keep quiet. Also, patience, all of those things. Because you've been through a lot, you have this independence. So I was so independent. And my husband used to be like, "You're not independent. You're married. You're a married woman. Independence does not work in this space." And I'll be like, "No, that's not possible. I've always been independent. I just want to be independent." And it took me a while to move away, to change that core belief, into, okay, I'm in this marriage because I want it to work, not just because I want to use this person or I want to bleed over this person. So he needed to work on himself. I needed to work on myself. Okay. So spirituality is beautiful, but you see the performance and all the beautiful things that comes after it. Yeah. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the work. It is not, it's nothing your pastor cannot do it for you. The pastor cannot fast the fast for you. You have to do the fasting yourself. Your body needs to feel it. You have to feel that, God, please help me, help me, help me. Take this away from me. This is something that I don't like. Please take it away from me. It's disturbing me, And God has been faithful. Even sometimes when I see myself in my daughter, I'll call her, I'll tell her this is something that mommy does that, but she doesn't like it about herself. Don't do it. So because our children are really learning from us, literally, more than what we are saying, they're learning from what we are doing. Okay. So I would say, no, that's not something mommy likes about herself, and I can see you're doing it. Can we try to put a cap on that? So yeah, it is important. It's a very, in fact, it's a very big thing. Spirituality and faith is very, very important, to your journey to healing, to total healing.
Wonderful, Minister Nike. Thank you so much for your time. I know you share a lot, and thank you for being vulnerable as well. Bringing out your own stuff out there. Thank you for your time. And to our audience, you've had it all from my guest. And one thing I'm just going to pick on, you see, have a positive mindset. When you have this positive mindset, that, there is nothing that is too difficult. And don't believe that, okay, because people see me, you don't know what other people are going through. Even some people, their trauma is even more than yours.
Yes.
So seek help. Seek help so that I can help. In the last few sentences my guest was talking about, she mentioned about working on herself, to make the marriage happen. And I think that most of this trauma as well affects our marriages. And people say the marriages are not working. So they say, is this one? Is that one time I was traveling and I had I had a transit at Amsterdam. That was a very long time. So the people coming from the States and we coming from London. So we met at Amsterdam. So we took the same plane going to Nigeria. So what happened was that this guy that was sitting next to me were talking. He said, hello, hi. Yeah. And I said hi to him. So he asked me, I was still single then, I wasn't married. And he said to me, How are you? So we started chatting anyway, and he asked me, "Are you married?" I said, "No." What about you? He said he's married, but he's a divorcee. And I said, "You're a divorcee," and I said, and he even mentioned to me that he has married twice, divorced twice. And I said, this is a new person. I don't know him from Adam. We just sat together on the plane, and I said to him, I said, "You are the problem." The guy was so big, American guys, they're so massive like that. And I don't care. I said, "You know what? You married once, you married twice." I said, "You are the problem. It's not the woman." So because let's say, okay, the first one didn't work. Let's say, fine. The first one didn't work, you divorce. Then what about the second one? And he said to me, "They are not listening to me." I said, "No, you are the problem."
Work on yourself.
Exactly. So, just rounding it up now, you see, we need to work on ourselves. Everybody has baggages.
Yes.
Everybody has baggages. It's just the baggages is different. It's like the way I am, I'm a slim person. My guest is not as slim as I am. You understand? So we are all different, and everybody has. So we need to work on ourselves. And if you're having a trauma, let's say if you're having a trauma from your background, please, please, please don't think your marriage is going to fix it.
No.
Sort it out, and God will help you. And the most important thing as well, we talk about your friends cannot be your therapy. Yes, friends can be there to support. Friends can be there to support you, to help you, They are fine, but they are not your therapists.
Yeah.
Because sometimes some friends will give you an advice that is not going to work. So you need a proper professional therapist to help you. And above all, God, Holy Spirit, is our help. Because sometimes you might be even talking to the therapist and you see that I'm not healing.
Yeah.
If you are not healing, then you need to go back to God. And that's very important. If you don't know God, this God is very important. You need to know him. So then community, we shouldn't, just bypass or look over community. Let's involve more in the community. Community is good. And the God of heaven that help us, that rewrites he is the one that can rewrite our story. And then what else do I want to talk about? Yeah, he can write our story. And I'm just going to say, have a positive mindset and don't believe in all these things that, I'll just live over it. I'm not just going to work on it. I just want this, I know I'm feeling this way. I have social anxiety. And yes, it's me. It's not you. God has not created you like that. Situation of life make you have that. So work on yourself, Don't be bold, don't be shy. Do what God has asked you to do. And that is that from us for today. And to my wonderful guest again, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Bye for now to our audience. Till we see you next time.
Thank you.